I have a special guest with me today. This is Tyler. He works in our co-op cafe, and he has become our fermenter expert. So he's going to talk to us a little bit about kimchi today.
Yeah, I'm very excited to share this very healthy, abundant source of nutrients and probiotics.
What exactly is kimchi? Some people don't know.
So kimchi is actually just anything that's a pickled veggie. Traditionally, kimchi is made with any veggie that you salt heavily and then you stick in the ground in a clay pot. It wasn't until the 19th century that the popularized kimchi that's very spicy and red came into the picture.
Oh, very cool. A clay pot, dude. Traditional ways. If I did that, I'm afraid I'd had some vermin digging up my yard. So that's really cool. So probiotics, this is all good for the gut. And fermented, we know we need these foods in our bodies. So traditionally, I've always seen kimchi not exactly fit for vegans with what's usually in it. So what's usually in it?
That's correct. It isn't usually fit for vegans because kimchi is usually made with a fish sauce that soaks in its brine, and then it's also usually added with salted seafood. So not very vegan at all.
Right, yeah. And so I know for myself, I eat gluten-free, and all the kimchi I've ever seen on the shelf has gluten in it. What?
Yeah, so in order to get around that, we actually substitute the soy sauce in kimchi with coconut aminos. It still gets it that same umami flavor. And then with the salted seafood, in order to get that same kind of taste of the sea, we actually add various seaweed flakes to it.
Awesome. And then how do we avoid the gluten? How does that get in there? Is it important? Oh, the miso.
Oh, the miso paste, the soybean.
That's
what adds that special touch
gluten.
of umami, the nice savory flavor.
Yeah, that's awesome if we can avoid that. I love it. So, yeah, instead of soy, which is a horrible hormone disruptor, many of you have heard me talk about that. We don't want that in our bodies. You're using coconut aminos. I love that because coconut also is very healing for the gut.
Yeah, absolutely. It has many different health properties.
Okay, and so instead of fish, what are we using?
We're using the seaweed.
That is awesome.
Yes, that's
Seaweed.
what still gives that kind of salty,
yeah.
sea-like flavor, as well as we actually add some pineapple in it to give it a hint of sweetness.
Oh, I love it because that's also another digestive enzyme. This is like, it sounds to me like a better recipe for digestion. I'm loving this. So what kind of seaweed or sea flakes are we using? Is it a specific kind or does it matter?
Well, we here actually use a specific kind, but you can use any flavor that you want. It really just depends on your personal taste.
That's awesome. I love it. Okay, so can you walk me through the tools I would need to do this?
Absolutely.
If I'm at home going, what?
So the first thing that you'll need in order to make a good batch of kimchi is a big old cabbage. Traditionally, it's made with Napa cabbage, but really any cabbage will do.
Yeah, so what kind is this guy?
This is known as Savoy cabbage. It's got a bit more texture to it, and it's a bit crinkly. After you cut up the cabbage, you salt it heavily, and that actually, believe it or not, breaks it down to nearly a third of its size. It releases so much juices, and it creates its own brine, where it actually prevents harmful bacteria from growing in and promotes the growth of the healthy bacteria that you want.
That's awesome. Okay, so we got our cabbage down. We got, what kind of equipment am I gonna need? Tools and...
So here we use the fancy stuff. We actually have this lid right here that compresses the kimchi down to stay in its juices, so that way it stays sterile, and has this little
guy right here.
does this up here to release any gases that the kimchi produces. But at home, you can use anything as simple as a loose towel that you drape over the top and tie with a rubber band.
So you don't have to get fancy.
Correct. Anything
But
that keeps the bugs out.
does this help? Because I like this airlock. This is an awesome airlock.
Yes, absolutely.
Does this help prevent explosions? Because we're talking fermentation here.
It does, because whenever the kimchi is fermenting inside of the jar, the bacteria, while they're feasting, actually release gases. And if you don't have something for the gases to escape through, then you can get an explosion on your hands.
Yeah, I think we've seen a few of those. So, that's awesome. So can I just go home and put this in my Tupperware or my, plastic jar at home? And
You can't necessarily use plastic, because if you use plastic, then depending on the type of fermented veggies you're making, the plastic can actually seep into the fermented food and contaminate it.
Right on.
It has to be
glass. That's my favorite, glass. Yes, so much more sustainable anyway, better for food.
Or a clay earthenware pot.
Right, exactly, which is awesome if you're doing traditional. If you're doing it, I want to see your post. Tell me all about it because I want to know traditional ways that people have done it. Oh yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so you said you take your cabbage and you're breaking it down, massaging. What are we?
That's correct.
Salt? Just any salt?
You have to use a coarse grade salt, nothing too rough, but you can't use traditional iodized salt because then it's not the right texture and it doesn't break down properly.
You don't want all that bleach anyway. Ugh. So sea salt it is. Yeah.
Yes, and you'll have to put some muscle into it. You'll be massaging it for approximately 30 minutes before the cabbage breaks down all the way.
Oh, you get your gym workout making kimchi. I like it. Okay. So then I know when you make the kimchi here, it is some spicy stuff. What spices are we using for this?
So for the one that we use for this is actually just red chili flakes. Traditionally, it's made with a spice called gochugaru, which is a different type of chili powder, but we don't have that available organically here, so we just use shredded red chili flakes.
See, I love that. You use what you have available. If you can't find those really bizarro ingredients, you aren't making your way to the Asian markets, you can use what's in your cupboard. I love that.
Just improvise.
Nice. Okay, so then when you're done with that, wait, how long does it take to ferment?
So it depends on your personal preference. We here actually ferment it for just a couple of days, but you can actually let it go on longer. 7 days is when you start to hit about the really fermented flavor, and some people let it go even for a month.
Wow, yeah.
But the longer you let it go, the more probiotics you get from it.
That's awesome. So will it ever go bad while I'm fermenting? I mean...
It won't go bad. You can still eat it as long as you want to, but it will start developing a certain briny, acidic flavor to it. So the longer you let it sit in the fridge, then the weirder the taste gets, but it's still good for you.
Yeah, so I know sometimes when I've been making sauerkraut, occasionally I'll have a batch that at the top starts to get this black, fuzzy stuff, and I go, oops, don't. But has that ever happened with this? Is that a thing that could happen?
It could happen with this, but as well as the salt brine that
And
you
then
add
you dump
into
it.
it, the chili flakes actually add another level of sterility to it. So it's even harder for the bacteria to grow in it.
Right, all the spices.
Mhm.
Right. So it's not as likely to happen with this, but if it does and it's black and fuzzy,
Yeah. Some people will scrape off the top, but it's just safe to throw out the entire batch because you don't want it to get sick from this stuff.
no kidding. Yeah, okay, so I've waited my few days.
Mhm.
I have taste tested it, and then I just jar it up in my Tupperware.
Not in your Tupperware, it still has to remain in glass, otherwise it will not preserve properly.
Awesome.
Yeah, and whenever you do jar it, after you take it out of the jar and put it in a new one, you have to make sure that whenever you seal it, you put it in the fridge. It cannot stay on the counter, or else it will continue fermenting and you'll get explosions.
Oh, no explosions. You don't want to lose all that hard work. If I'm going to
Exactly.
macerate some salt into my cabbage for 30 minutes, I'm going to keep all my hard work.
Yes.
That is awesome. So I love it. You can get really creative with your kimchi recipes, and it doesn't have to be as strict as traditional ways to kind of fit your own diet needs.
Exactly, and if you don't like spicy, then you can always leave the spice out. There's over 180 different varieties of kimchi that come out of Korea.
Oh,
There's so many different ways to make it.
that's awesome. So you don't have to be quite the stickler, but you can just get in your kitchen and experiment.
Exactly.
That
All you
is
need
awesome.
is some veggies or cabbage, some salt, and some seasonings.
I love it. It's really easier than I thought. Not so daunting. Thank you, Tyler, for making this feel like it's doable for the rest of us.
Absolutely.
That is awesome. If you enjoy videos with tips like this, go ahead and give us a like, subscribe to our channel, share this with a friend, and check out our website at shopnaturalliving.com. See what else we have for you. Happy healing.
Bye, guys.